at the GrowTech Fest in Chico, California. My name's Kirk. This is Mitch with Icon Coaching, and you're back at the Hard But Worth It podcast. You can hear that there's all kinds of activity going on because this place is hopping right now, and it's lunchtime. But we have Prem here with us, and he's going to spend a little bit of time telling us about what he does and his role at Growth Factor. Prem, what is that all about?
Well, first of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to sit here and talk to you guys about the company and stuff like that. Growth Factors is an investment company that I started. We invest in companies, buy majority share, and then scale them and hopefully spin them off or have exit strategies for them. Before that, I had a company called Milestone Technologies, and I started that in '97 and grew it to a couple thousand people globally and spun it off in 2015. So a lot of the learnings from all of those 20 years of mistakes to like apply it now towards smaller organizations and how they scale.
Would you call it, do you guys actually wrap yourself around the entrepreneur and provide resource and tools, or is it a more...
Well, we do both.
Okay.
If it's an entrepreneur that doesn't want a full investment, but just wants assistance and some investment, absolutely. But if we invest heavily, it's really hard to keep founders involved.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but they're so close to it, they can't modify and change.
So you need majority share. You're coming in and...
At 90%, 80%.
Great. Yeah.
Interesting. So is there a point where you're able to establish trust and the founder slowly takes their hands off it?
Yeah.
Like, is that part of what your work is in doing that?
A part of that is it usually takes about a year or two.
A year, wow.
Yeah, so I went from high tech to the first company that we bought was a clothing company called Three Bird Nests. And they were small, 3 millish. And since 2018 now, we're 7X that. And then we're really trying to grow and scale it. A lot of the stuff they're talking about in there, about servant leadership, about purpose and values and driving the organization together, absolutely what we do. You have to.
Yeah. How does that translate from the founder to, well, when you're coming in and buying, you're in a sense, you're keeping them on board, but you're becoming this new owner, new ownership group. How do you pull that original founder energy, that purpose that got them to where they are, and pull it through into what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so what we did is when we first bought the company, we would spend hours, like 4-hour blocks, sitting down with the founders and the people in the organization and understanding, one, who are their customers? Why do their customers buy from us? What is our purpose in life, like what they were talking about? And then trying to get as much of that from them as possible. Those are all the soft things, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, logistics and how to package an item and all of that stuff, that's all the physical stuff that we can do. But what's really key is to pull what is it that you created from a soft skill standpoint that we can document, understand, and try to replicate.
Yeah, Les McEwen wrote the book Predictable Success.
Yep.
And it's kind of a stages of growth. But he talks about companies going through early struggle to this fun phase, which tends to be really rallied still around the original founder or the founders. It's very vertical, direct paths. And then usually there's a point of success where they move from early struggle and fun to whitewater. And there's this tension of, they had fun, but now they have some problems. And in order to push through whitewater, they got to get to predictable success. They need help, and that's a scaling process. It sounds like you might be stepping into companies who know they've been in the fun stage, and they're now in this whitewater stage, and they're not quite sure they're in it. And the decision is, do I stay in fun?
Yeah.
Or do I pull in people who might be able to get me into this out of whitewater on the other side, which is a little more process, scale, structure? Is that kind of how you're helping?
If you take a look at our website, we talk about a barrier and we talk about the grind. Every company, not every company, most entrepreneurs have a limit to where they can take a company, whether it's 5, 10, 20 million, whatever that number is. And they hit this barrier and they keep hitting it and they keep doing the same thing over and over, thinking it's going to give me a different result. But they can't get out of the grind, the day-to-day, to really start thinking about strategy, thinking about what is my company all about? How do I get out of all of this and put a plan together to get me through that barrier? And that's kind of what we do. Is we, like the company that we bought, there were 3 mil. I mean, that's kind of, they were there for 7 years. So how do we go from that and going 7X is because of all the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Breaking through the barrier. I don't do the detailed stuff. We do strategy. This is what we should do for marketing. Here's our purpose. Here's our brand. Here's our, whatever. And then the team feels empowered because they're bringing ideas and concepts to the table. So we just execute.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that like bring ideas and they fail, and that's okay. You got to learn from that too, though.
Yeah.
You just can't go out and blow 20 grand and like forget about it.
Failure without learning is a whole different category of failure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right now, there's probably people who will be listening to this who have started a business, and maybe they're in a bit of a cycle, maybe 1 or 2 cycles, maybe they've been in there longer for 5 years, and they're getting to this question of, maybe I'm not the person, or the way that got me here isn't going to be way that gets me to where I need to go.
Absolutely.
How do they prepare to talk to you and your team? Like, what are some of the things they need to do to show up where you're ready to partner with that person and identify maybe a good fit there?
They need to be willing to change. They need to accept that there's things that need to change or happen differently in the organization. They may be hoarding power. They may be making all the decisions, but in order to shift that and break through, you have to be able to let go. You have to delegate. And the biggest thing is, whoever that entrepreneur is needs to shift from a day-to-day to strategy. And that is a big change. A lot of entrepreneurs can't make that change. You know, when I first started Milestone in 97, I didn't know about strategy. I was like, I'm just going to go do some stuff, right? I'm going to get these customers and we're going to go kill it. Well, it wasn't until about 2010 and 2011 that I really started focusing on culture, people, purpose, all of these things around with data analytics and everything. We went from 300 people to 2,000 by 2015. Right. Massive scale. So it wouldn't have happened if I would have continued to think the way that I thought.
Why was it hard to let go of the way you were thinking? What internally sort of broke that allowed that barrier to go down?
I finally came to like, I need to do something different. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs will say, I want to do something different, but I've also consulted with, there was a couple of brothers and they owned a metal company and they loved everything we were talking about. They didn't want to implement it. They're like, no, we've been doing it for 30 years. This is how we do it. But in order to scale, you need to let go of power. You need to delegate. You need to give accountability and reporting back in. There's a different structure to that.
Yeah. And sometimes we need help. When you were at that spot in your own business and you talk about making some changes and you shifted and then you went from however many hundred to 2,000, did you have other people that you brought in at that point to help you? Like, you didn't just come to that yourself. It was a sense of you needed others to help you do what you couldn't do on your own. And that's probably part of the key.
Yeah, I brought in a leadership coach and he really helped me sit down and understand. Like, the very first meeting he joined me in, there was, 10 of us, 12 of us at the executive offsite. I was talking and all of this. And so after the first conversation at the break, he goes, Prem, I'm going to give you some advice. Talk less, listen more. That alone changes things, right? So I go back in the meeting and there was a question on the table. Everybody's looking at me. And I'm like, what do you guys think?
Yeah.
And they were kind of nervous, right?
Sure.
Like, this is what I think, because if I say it, they'll follow it. But if they say it and I don't follow it, is that a bad thing?
Right.
So it just went around the table, people throwing out their ideas. I'm like, all right, that sounds like a cool thing, but how do we make that happen? Like digging deeper into it, right? He said that if you talk less, whatever you say is going to be more meaningful, or make sure that it is more meaningful. Don't just blab because you can blab. Make it meaningful and purposeful so that people are getting some kind of message out of it.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that. If somebody, I'm going to frame this a little different. Well, okay, so there's someone listening right now that is resonating with what you're saying. They're like, I want to change. I'm stuck at whatever number they're stuck at.
Yep.
Been here for 5 years. I'm in that grind. I can feel the barrier. I can't name it. Right? They're just right there.
Yep.
How do they get ready for you or the yous of the world, right?
Well,
what
I think
do they need to do right
what
now?
they should probably do is take a look at the first step is go out and find leadership coaches that teach servant leadership, or that at least know what culture and purpose are all about in organizations. And then, because what that does is it also helps drive people operations. Who are we hiring? Do they resonate with our values? Are they the same kind of people? because if you can pull that team together, you grow faster, right?
That's awesome.
The warriors aren't warriors because they all have different ideas. They're together because they have very similar passion. Well, first of all, basketball, but also their trust and their values are really kind of connected together.
Well, that couldn't be a better commercial for Icon Coaching, because this is exactly what we do with people.
Oh, is it really?
It is. We're executive and leadership coaches, and we sit down with people and work on that. All those questions. Why does your company exist? No, really.
Yes.
To make more money, take care of my family. No, your customers don't care about that.
What started that path for me before I hired the leadership coach was Simon Sinek, the why. You guys know it.
Yeah.
I watched that. I was like, that's an interesting concept.
Right.
And back in 2010, it's like,
that's kind of
okay, so let's see what happens with this, right? So I brought the leadership coach in. I said, look, if we're going to do this, I want this to be like the backbone, like why?
Right.
What's our purpose, right? Yep. So at Three Bird Nest, the clothing company, right? Our purpose is to inspire you to feel your authentic self. Not to show your authentic self, but to feel it. Have you guys ever worn an article of clothing that makes you feel so damn good?
Absolutely.
That's what we want to have every woman feel when they wear our products. So the way we curate, the way we design our advertising, the way that we're doing placements, the way the packages go out, the way customer service supports them, it has to be inspiring.
That's awesome. Well, Prem, thanks for spending some time with us today. Love what you're doing in the world. It was obviously where our heart is as well.
Absolutely, man.
Awesome.